Yes.
Okay, so hello everyone, my name is Liuwen. Today I'm going to present our work on principle-based analysis of abstract agent argumentation semantics. And first of all, I would like to introduce you what is principle-based analysis and why it is needed here. So formal argumentation is now a popular formalism in knowledge representation, and Dong introduced the abstract argumentation framework 25 years ago, which is also one of the main formalism in representation. And for example, this is abstract argumentation framework from Dong theory, containing arguments and their attack relation. After this, there are a lot of extensions of abstract argumentation have been proposed, like I would just mention a bit this. However, an overview of this extension is missing. So for this reason, a principle-based analysis has been proposed by Baroni. And you can also find an overview in the handbook of formal argumentation by Van de Troy and Vesic. So in this approach, principles are meaning the same as axioms or postulates using in many other areas. So here, in terms of argumentation, the principles are general properties, and that can be used as a guideline to choose semantics, and then to give a general classification of different semantics. And then what is abstract agent argumentation? So here we have another example here. So this is an abstract agent argumentation framework which extends the argument framework with agents. Agent has a set of arguments. So like here we have agent alpha, which has the agent argument A and C. Agent beta has the argument B and D. And then one thing need to be noticed is that there can be the case argument could belong to multiple agents, and there can also be the case that the argument does not belong to any agent. So for this kind of semantics and this kind of principles, the results in our paper are visualized in these tables. So here we have 17 columns that are principles, and we have 13 lines here that are 13 subtypes of the semantics. I will introduce 2 of the semantics and 1 of the principles in my presentation. Okay, so our research questions are as follows. The first one is which semantics can be formalized for agent argumentation? And the second, which traditional principles in the literature are violated by these agent argumentation semantics? And the third, which new principles can we define to distinguish the varieties of agent semantics? To answer the above question, we study 4 general types, in total 52 semantics and 70 principles, so that we have 884 propositions with proofs. Okay, so let's talk about the agent argumentation semantics and principles. So there are 4 general types of semantics. The first one is, we call it agent defense semantics. This is the one I'm going to talk about in detail later, because this is really new, which adapts Dong's notion of defense. And the second is inspired by voting and social choice. We call it social agent semantics. And one example of this approach could be the work of Leendert and Martins 10 years ago. So in this kind of approach, we take the techniques from social choice, for example, like counting, etc. And then the third one is inspired by the multi-agent system. We call it agent reduction semantics. Example here could be the work of Giacomi 4 years ago. And the third one is inspired by the social cognition. We call it agent filtering semantics, which is based on the idea that certain attacks or certain arguments could be improved because they may unknown or untrusted by the agent. So you can see we have these semantics actually from many areas. For example, the first one with the adapted Dongheng's notion is from knowledge representation. The second from social choice, the third from multi-agent system, and the last one is more about social cognition, referring knowledge and trust. And actually, there are principles in all of these areas. And of course, you can also find some certain similarities among these principles. For example, we can look at the dynamics of the frameworks, and we can also look at the dynamics of the systems. So in our paper, we directly derive the traditional principles in the literature in formal argumentation, and then we give the variants of them. Yes, and we also look at the robustness regarding changes of the framework. We look at what will happen if we add or remove agent arguments or attacks. Okay, so let's have a look at agent defense semantics. So here we have two subtypes, namely individual defense and collective defense. So for the individual defense, we say that arguments can only be defended by the arguments from the same agent. So here we have a set of argument A and extension E. So we say E individually defends argument C if there exists agent alpha who has C, and for all arguments attacking C, there exists argument also belongs to alpha, and in E, such arguments attacking the attackers of C. So here in this graph, we have A1 and A2 and C. They both belong to agent alpha, and we say A1 and A2 individually defend C. And then the collective defenses are a bit different. We say that arguments can be defended by the arguments from multiple agents. So here again we have A, E, and C. So it says that for all the arguments attacking C, there exists agent alpha who has C again, and then there exists argument also belongs to this agent and also in E. So here we have A1, C belongs to agent alpha, we have A2, C belongs to agent beta, and we say A1 and A2 collectively defend C. Okay, so here we have these two variants of Dongheng's notion of defense. So we have variants of all Dongh semantics in theory. For example, here we have complete one semantics based on individual defense, and we have complete two semantics based on collective defense. And the same for the other three. So here we have 8 new agent semantics. Okay, so next let's see the principles we studied in our paper. So we grouped all the principles into 3 types. The first is traditional principles. The previous 4 are introduced by Baroni, and the fourth is from Bama and Setro's work last year called modularity. And then since we have 2 different kinds of agent defense, and here we have variants of the traditional principles, namely agent admissibility 1 and 2, and agent SCC recursiveness 1 and 2. And then we have these 8 new principles. So here, this table shows our result of the comparison of the principles and the semantics. So here we just mentioned these 8 agent defense semantics. So here we use SEM1 and SEM2 to represent the semantics based on individual defense and collective defense respectively. And then we use this whole row C, G, PS to represent complete, grounded, preferred, and stable semantics. And so we write any of them in the matrix representing they satisfy certain principle, and we use this X symbol to represent none of them satisfy a certain principle. And from these red rectangles, you can see that if SEM1 satisfy a certain principle, then SEM2 also satisfy it, but it does not always hold the way around. Okay, so another example could be here. We look at principle 14, namely removal agent persistence. So basically, principle 14 says that if two agents have the same argument, and then if we remove one of them, the semantics remains the same. So this is apparently against the idea of social choice, where by counting the number of agents count make a difference. So here we can use principle 14 to distinguish the semantics on the social choice from others. And also from all the items in these tables, you can see if a principle, it can either be satisfied by all the semantics here or none of them. So this is intentional, since our principles are focusing on the agent part and are orthogonal to the traditional principles used used in literature to distinguish strong semantics. Okay, so to conclude, in our paper, we introduced new agent semantics and principles, and we give a full analysis of these 52 agent semantics and 17 principles. For the future work on the semantic side, of course, there are more agent semantics and principles can be explored, and we are also trying to fill the gap between the abstract form and structured form of agent argumentation. And the third is how to implement agent argumentation with dynamic agent dialogue. And then on the principle-based approach side, the first one is the principles and argumentation practice. And then the second is how to relate principles of different theories. Here we mean in and outside argumentation. And the third is the representation results to characterize semantics. Okay, thanks for listening, and any comments or questions are highly welcome. And I'm also looking forward to seeing you in my poster. Thank you.